Hi, this is Nicole Pacent from Space Guys in Space, and you're listening to Geekcast Radio Network.
There is nothing wrong with your podcast player. Do not attempt to adjust the volume. Hello and welcome back to our studio. You are now inside Studio 2009. I'm, of course, TFG and Mike. Joining me, as always, Steve Megatron. Hello.
Hello, hello.
And tonight we're doing something a little different. I actually had this plan now that I thought about it. We had done episode 17 and 18 were 25 years of whatever film we did. Like, we did Space Jam and we did Happy Gilmore. I was going to do like a triple shot of that and have us talk about another film from 1996, but we're going to push that off for now, for later, because tonight it's all about how we cross the streams. That's right, we're talking about streaming services, and as always, this fits into our talking about things that are in the audio/visual realm. This doesn't just go to video, though. I mean, with Apple Music and Spotify and whatever other music podcast things people use these days. I use Spotify personally. But, you know, Netflix and Hulu. And funny story, folks. What'd you say, Steve? It's been about 10 years?
10 years of...
since we got death threats about our streaming service preference.
I had a feeling that's where you were going with that.
Well, I mean, this is a new podcast. We're bringing in new listeners. We got to hook them somehow. The fact that the Geekcast Radio Network got death threats about a decade ago because we prefer Netflix over Hulu or whatever.
Couldn't be farther from the truth.
Yeah, no. And even back then, I remember this. Even back then, Hulu was not, I don't want to say it was new because I'm not looking at any information as to when Hulu became a thing, but I had Netflix for a while at that point, and at the time, Netflix had a lot of stuff. They still have a lot of stuff, but it's changed over the last decade, and we'll talk about that as we go further. But at the time, they had everything I wanted to watch, whether it was old shows, whether it was new shows, whether it was whatever. And I only wanted to pay for one. What I've always wanted is one streaming service that has all the shows that I want to watch. And sadly, that just isn't the case. But at least back then, Netflix had, I would say, at the time in 2011, 95% of the shows that I wanted to watch ad-free. And Hulu was a new thing, or Hulu was whatever, and it was just starting, and it was, you know, a Netflix rival and whatever, and I'm like, I'll check it out at some point. But yeah, no, we literally got death threats over streaming services. The stupidest thing to send a death threat over.
Pretty much.
One of, but pretty much, yeah. All right, so where are we going to start with this? Let's start with what? Okay. Now, I know the streaming services are on TVs, they're on phones, they're on tablets. Generally, when you are using a streaming service, no matter which one it is, are you watching it on your television or your phone or whatever other device you may have?
I watch on my smart TV, but I also watch on my phone.
Okay.
So, like, for instance, when I donate plasma for extra funds, I get I download my shows so that I can watch them later. And it's very convenient.
Yep. Yeah, for me, I don't do the download thing. I just do the streaming thing, because most of the time I'm at home. I'm a person that was born with a mild case of cerebral palsy. I was actually born with brain damage because of all of that and everything else. It's a long, drawn-out story no one needs to hear right now. I'll save that one for later. But basically, because of the cerebral palsy and because of my brain damage. Driving for me, mentally, not necessarily physically, because I'm sure there's some company out there that I could go to and say, hi, I'm a disabled person that I would love to be able to learn how to drive. My problem is, because I'm left-handed, I need to be, and this is so ass backwards, I know, I need to basically be in a Euro car. I need to be a right side driver kind of thing, because that left side just doesn't do it for me and whatever. But the point is, I stay home a lot. I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything kind of thing. And yeah. So for me, I'm always streaming the stuff. I don't really download the stuff. I use other. And we're not just going to talk about Netflix and Hulu, folks. There's so many streaming services out there that we just have. We'll be mentioning at some point or another, just for reference. Because I mentioned this to you off here. The good thing about this topic, I can be sitting here on my phone looking up research or going through the streaming apps as we're talking about them, and no mouse clicks, folks. So unless I have to mute or unless we're about to end the episode, you should not hear any mouse clicks from me in this episode. For the record, Hulu was launched October 29th, 2007. So there you go. What is your preferred... Well, how many streaming services do you use, and what is your most preferred one that you use?
Well, I use a plethora of them. I have access to Hulu, to Netflix, to PureFlix, to Amazon Prime, to Disney Plus, to Tubi.tv, and Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all of them, I use Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus the most.
Cool. Again, for the record, for information, I can't believe it was founded. It doesn't say it was launched, but it was founded. Netflix was founded August 29th, 1997. Holy crap. Oh, I know why that is. Because Netflix, before they were streaming, they had the DVD service. Did you ever use that?
Yeah, that's actually where we signed up.
As soon as they went ad-free, and ad-free is going to be a huge thing in this episode, folks, even though I'm sure at some point you're going to hear an ad or two in here from our lovely sponsors over at Spreaker. They have us put ads in these things, depending on the length. But for me... I want to say, when did I get Netflix? When did we start doing that? I guess I could look at it, but it's one of those things where I remember having Netflix for the longest time now. I've only ever canceled it for maybe one or two times. I haven't really, I want to say I've had Netflix since about 2010. I think right around 2014 or 2015 is when I jumped on the Hulu bandwagon, because Hulu had some stuff that Netflix didn't have that I wanted to watch. And then the nice thing about Hulu is, if you don't want to sit through commercials or waste space on a DVR, if you even have a DVR, because for me personally, like I said, I'm all about what Hulu does now, and they've been doing this for years. The next day airing, so like Last Man Standing, I know that's a show you used to like. If it airs on ABC, let's say tonight, the Hulu version of it will be up tomorrow morning. We're recording this on a Monday, folks, so Tuesday morning. And as long as you have an ad-free plan from Hulu, you can watch it ad-free. And I am all about that ad-free stuff right now.
Yeah, I love ad-free. It's funny because my kids saw a couple shows on Tubi.tv, and they flipped. What are these things that we have to watch? Oh, those are called commercials, kids. Things that your parents had to deal with when we wanted to watch a television program.
Mm-hmm.
And they just can't fathom it. They're like, well, when does it come back? And then they figured out that Tubi has, that convenient thing that shows you how long your commercial break is.
Yeah, like 2 ads,
they're like,
3 ads.
Well, it's only 4 ads, and I'm like, yeah. When we were kids, we didn't know how long we had.
No.
I mean, it could be 2, it could be 4, it could be 5, it could be torture.
Mm-hmm. We could time it as kids. Like, we could time it out in the 80s and 90s to figure out how long the break was going to be. But then at times, some commercials are longer than others. They're not just always 1 minute or 30-second spots. Sometimes they're 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Sometimes they're this. Sometimes they're that. If you'd asked me 30 years ago what the audio and visual landscape of movies and television and music would be in 2021, I would have said I have no idea. I know right now that I would love to bring this technology back to the 80s and relive my childhood all over again with ad-free television. Now, that's not to say I don't enjoy or like some commercials. It just depends on the commercial. However, most of the commercials I've watched over my lifetime, may the man rest in peace, but Alex Trebek and the Colonial Penn ads, pretty much any insurance ad, doesn't matter if it's State Farm or Geico or whatever. Then you get into the whole thing of turning advertising into television with paid programming, and you have an hour-long Ronco special on his Set It, Forget It rotisserie.
Oh, I remember that crap.
Yep. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely respect where we've come from. But at this point in my life, I want to control everything I possibly can control with my entertainment. And I live on a limited budget, and I only subscribe to so many things. Like right now, I don't know if I said already, but right now I have Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Discovery Plus, and I think Amazon Prime. But I have Amazon Prime because it's Amazon Prime. Prime Video is included in that, but it's more for, getting free 2-day shipping than anything else. I have watched things on Amazon Prime, and I enjoy it, but it's not my go-to service.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched things on there too, but for the most part, I don't care. They don't have enough on there, and honestly, most of their stuff, they charge you an arm and a leg for. They're like, oh, we have it on Amazon Prime. Pay, X amount of dollars. And it's like, no, I can watch that for free on Hulu or, any other number of services.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the interesting thing, and I only bring this up because this is something you actually pointed out to me, but there's an app called MAI Movie, so My Movie, that will tell you if a show is on a streaming service or not, whether it's ones that are subscription-based. If you have a subscription, usually it takes you directly to whatever your subscription is that it's on, kind of thing. And surprisingly, half the stuff I've looked up on that service in the past 6 months, you either have to go through Vudu or Amazon Prime Video to actually purchase it versus it actually being streaming, which kind of sucks. Yeah, I think if you were to, I don't know what your phone does, but my phone, I have it set to show me weekly recaps of my usage of my screen time.
Oh, I don't care.
Okay, well, I'm sure you don't care, and I don't really care either. It's just something that when I got the phone, okay, sure, fine. Whoops. 10 hours a week? No, it's more like I'm on my phone 10 hours a day, folks. So yeah, that is about to be a misconception coming up here inside Studio 2009. I meant to say 10 hours a day on average for usage of my phone, not 10 hours a week. I generally am on my phone 10 hours a week on average. Most every time this thing pops up, it tells me you've been on your phone 10 hours a week in total.
Ooh. Technical difficulties. Let's move on, shall we?
The funny thing is, it'll show like the top 3 apps of what I've used and how many hours I've used them, Hulu is usually anywhere from 15 to over 24 hours within the entire week. And I use Hulu a lot. I love their mobile app. I love how they have things laid out. I love how easy it is. And I know everyone's like, oh, we should be early adopters to technology, and sometimes I agree with that. With Hulu in the beginning, I did not agree with it because of what their model was way back when they started. But now that that they've kind of found their groove, I absolutely love it. Like, if Karen didn't rely on cable television, I would have nothing but streaming apps.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have cable. Because honestly, we don't watch that. I mean, I watch more television than anyone in my house, but but like for the most part, like Mary's got her set few shows. I've got a multitude of shows, but we were able to watch majority of what we want on streaming, so. There's really no reason for cable for us, but
right, yeah, and it would be the same for me. But and this is a long story, folks. I just have to word it this way in case the government is listening. And my ex-wife just loves having the DVR and the TV and the stuff. So it is what it is. She pays for that, and I pay for my stuff, and it's fine. Yeah, so streaming services. I know everyone is going to be like, oh, Disney, the evil mouse, the evil corporate. Look, they're all evil corporations. Disney owns Hulu. Disney owns ABC. Warner's owns whatever they own.
This is Kevin Conroy, and I am the goddamn Batman.
I do miss the DC Universe streaming app for some of their video content, because while I love HBO Max, that's something I cannot. Okay, we'll talk about price here, but it's something I just can't justify with the other ones I'm already paying for. $15 a month for ad-free HBO Max, and I know that people will say, "Oh, but you can get a cheaper package with it." The whole point of me paying for a streaming service is to get ad-free. It's not to pay and still have to do. If I wanted that, I would go into the other room and watch TV on the cable that she pays for. Anyway, I remember when YouTube tried to get into the streaming thing, and they still are trying, but I don't know. There's just some streaming services I look at and I'm like, I don't need that.
Yeah, I don't participate in any of the other ones. I pretty much just do the ones I listed, and that's because I don't have time to really.
Right.
And plus, if I have to do and I know I used to talk about a la carte once upon a time. Yeah, that's just stupid. We've got a la carte now, and unfortunately, we're all screwed.
Because it costs so much.
It does. It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's funny that all of the streaming services, any of them, it doesn't matter which one you want to name off, they all cost a certain price. And again, my biggest thing is ad-free. So let's say ad-free is $9.99 a month or $11.99 a month. Let's just go with $9.99 because that's just easiest. Okay, so if I'm paying $9.99 a month for Netflix, Hulu, Discovery Plus, Disney Plus, that's already $40 plus tax, whatever the tax is. So it's essentially like having a cable package now, even though it is a la carte and you can choose your things, and I think that's great, but I'm wondering when the cable companies are going to get with it and realize that, hey, we're in trouble here. I don't know if they're in trouble or not. I'm just,
spitballing it.
Yeah, I'm just spitballing it. I have no idea. I have not done research into Comcast or Cox or what are the other ones? Spectrum. I have not done any research on those, and that's not what we're here for, is the research. We're just here to talk about how we love crossing our streaming services. I usually marathon stuff now. Okay, like I mentioned earlier about Hulu and their next day airings of, like, our perfect example is The Voice is on right now, or it's about to be on, or whatever. The Voice, I won't actually watch tonight's episode until it hits ad-free Hulu tomorrow morning. I'm fine waiting a day. I'm not that high on Disney Plus and their weekly airings. I get it. They want to be competitive with weekly content, but Netflix and Hulu, before Hulu went to like the live stuff and everything else, they kind of spoiled me with saying, like, especially Netflix. Netflix used to be like, and they still are like this sometimes, here's all of season 1 of insert show name here, watch it all right now. Cool. That means I can go to it whenever I want, at whatever time I want, when it's convenient for me. Mm-hmm. Whereas over on Disney Plus, and I'm sure other services do this as well, I have to wait a week for the next abysmal episode of Mighty Ducks the Game Changers.
I actually don't mind that series, but that's beside the point.
We'll talk about that off air, because that's a whole other discussion for another day.
But no, I mean, CBS All Access, they do the same thing.
Which is now Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
new packaging, same product.
Losers. Right. But at least with Paramount Plus, I can watch ad-free versions of the new version of the Equalizer series starring Queen Latifah, or I can watch ad-free versions of the 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, which I absolutely love. So, again, it is what it is, I guess. What other parts of the streaming landscape do we want to talk about? Do you use any music streaming stuff, or are you just not into that kind of stuff?
Not anymore? Really. I mean, I pretty much anything I listen to, I've already got it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm old. I don't care about any of the new stuff. And for the most part, I don't care to download or to stream. I just, whatever I want, it's already on my phone.
See, I'm the opposite when it comes to certain things like that. Like, I prefer, like, okay, I've built up this. I built it up in iTunes years ago, but I had to build it up again once I joined Spotify. I have this playlist. It is called Library Faves. It is a playlist of over 1,000 songs. I've had this playlist going since I first got iTunes back in 2006. And yes, folks, iTunes still is a thing, even though they say Apple Music and Apple Podcasts and Apple TV. On Windows PCs, iTunes is still a thing. And for me, it was like, oh, I have to buy all of these songs. I can't tell you. Since 2006, up until I got Spotify a couple of years ago, I cannot tell you how much money I sunk into iTunes purchasing music for $1.29 plus tax download. And that's just for a single song. Like albums, $9.99, $11.99, whatever it is. So from 2006 to, I want to say, about 20... When did I get Spotify? Because we changed how we use Spotify recently in the last couple of years. But I think I first got Spotify somewhere around 2015, 2016, something like that. And I love it. The music is just there. There's a lot of things that Spotify doesn't have, but almost everything I had on my faves playlist from 2006 onward is on Spotify, and it is in my favorites playlist, my library faves playlist on Spotify. So it's just so much easier for me to do it that way. Yeah, this thing, it's 86 hours and 44 minutes long.
Wow.
And I don't listen to it all of the time, obviously, but it's like it's that playlist where I have everything sorted alphabetically by artist, and half of the time I just hit shuffle play, and whatever comes up, comes up. I actually have an album on my Facebook page, on my personal Facebook page, called Tunes, where I screenshot either the actual music of what I'm listening to right then, or this is what I'm listening to now, but here's what's coming up next kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I have like over 100 pictures of that kind of stuff on my Facebook. But yeah, and it's just choice. It's just easy. It's one fee. It's whatever Spotify Premium is for quote unquote families, because Karen and I have the family plan thing. I want to say it's something like $16.34 a month, I think. And that's for two people. So that's cool. That's good. That's a good price for two people to have unlimited, no ads. I know Spotify has an ad plan or some sort of free plan or whatever. I don't ever want to go down that route. Never, never, never. Yeah, for me, like I said, choice. It's all about having the choices to, like, I'm in the middle of Star Wars: The Clone Wars Season 5 right now on Disney+. I'm watching... I was watching Falcon and Winter Soldier on Disney+. I'm watching various older shows. Like, I'm going through a Law & Order SVU marathon on Hulu. I'm about to check out... what is it called? Jupiter's Ending, Jupiter's Landing, whatever that new series is on Netflix. I'm about to check that out here soon. Jupiter's Legacy, that's what it is. Sorry about that, Jupiter's Legacy. I just wanted to make sure I had it right. Yeah, Jupiter's Legacy, new series on Netflix. It's 8 episodes. So, and for those who are interested about this, they are the first generation of superheroes, but as they pass the torch to their children, tensions are rising and the old rules no longer apply. Kind of reminds me of No Ordinary Family.
Yeah, it didn't really. I mean, I watched that. It didn't last long.
It lasted one season, and I don't even remember watching it. The only reason why I wanted to watch it was
Michael Chiklis.
Yep, good old Vic Mackey from The Shield. And that's interesting. How many shows have come out that are either superhero or mutant based that we're kind of gonna say this is this, but it really isn't this. Like, I remember back in the day, Mutant X with John Shea. More recently, The Gifted on Fox. I come into series late sometimes when I'm watching TV, whether it's on the streaming services or in other ways. But I find myself, because I'm so in the realm of wanting to binge things, that I just wait until it's all available.
I get it.
On average, how much streaming would you say you do in a week?
More than I care to admit.
And the other thing for me is, and I guess it's mostly my age, at least the last 2 or 3 years, because as I said at the beginning of this, I'm 41 at this point. For me, and I found this years ago now, it was 2008, 2009, I think. True crime TV has always been there. America's Most Wanted, Unsolved Mysteries, all that kind of stuff. It's always been there. But 2008, Discovery, I believe it was in 2008, Discovery launched the Investigation Discovery Network. And I just went, full hog, all in, like, ooh, what's this? And I have been watching so many true crime shows since then. And now with Discovery Plus, I can watch them all ad-free. And half of the time now, because I've seen almost, like, there isn't an episode of Forensic Files that you could show me that I wouldn't know within like a minute and a half what case it is. Karen and I are like, because I've seen all of these episodes and all of these cases, I use that to help me get to sleep at night. Now, I know that sounds crazy, folks, that I use a show about somebody getting killed to help me get to sleep. It isn't about that. What it is about is whomever the narrator is, like Peter Thomas. Everybody knows who Peter, you would know him by his voice, and maybe I'll throw a clip of him in here somewhere.
At the Dallas Pistol and Revolver Club in 1991, Trey Cooley, a young spectator, was watching a shooting competition seated behind an air gun range. He was struck and killed by a stray bullet. This is how ballistics, lasers, and forensic animation solved the riddle of the magic bullet.
But he has this voice that even though he's giving information about this girl or guy or whomever got murdered, what? Peter Thomas, he has a voice that is nice and soothing and interesting. The only problem I have with Forensic Files is, I don't know if it's the way they are or it's the way that the channel that either owns the network or whatever that owns them, every time they are on a streaming service, no matter which one it is, the volume is always off. It's always bad. Like, Peter's voice will sound just like this. And then when it switches from him narrating the episode to actually having like a reenactment part of the episode or something, the little voice will talk like this, and you can barely hear it, even though your volume is at the highest volume it can go. It's just ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. Investigation Discovery launched October 1996, and I found them in 2008, so at least I know that my information is somewhat factually correct. It's funny because part of my true crime watching, and I don't know how much true crime TV you watch, if you watch any of that stuff at all. I don't think you do. But
no, not really.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because you ever want
Butler.
Well, if you can afford the butler, sure. It's usually the husband or the kids or the whatever. And that's the interesting thing about some of the ID stuff that they do and some of the other like HLN. HLN, folks, if you don't know, it used to stand for Headline News. It was a subsidy of CNN. It was another version of CNN News kind of thing. And for a while now, number of years, they've been going towards this true crime thing, and that's where most of the Forensic Files episodes are, if you want to actually see it on television. And they have, how it happened with Hill Harper, and they have this Oxygen. The Oxygen Network has Snapped, which is basically it's about people who snap kind of thing and go off and kill somebody. But my point in bringing this up and asking you if you watch any of this stuff, something I suggest to you, and since you do have access to Hulu, you could do this if you'd want to, but it's up to you. Homicide Hunter with Joe Kenda.
Mm-hmm.
I love that show. I love that man. I wish at some point I could get him on here for an interview. It would most likely just be me just geeking out over this guy. He was a police officer, detective, and former lieutenant in the Colorado Springs Police Department from 1973 to 1996. And I'm like, ooh. Every time I watch one of his episodes, I'm like, I wonder how far Pueblo is from Loveland.
A couple hours, I think.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But it's just one of those things where I'm like, ooh, this is really, really cool. All right, let's ask the audience. What is your go-to streaming service and why? Do you prefer one over the other? Do you have a multitude of ones that like we do? Let us know in the comments. Is there anything else we want to bring up about streaming? I mean, I kind of talked about price, but you didn't. I mean, you did a little bit, but if you want to jump on
price, I think that we're getting to the point where we're basically paying for cable again.
True. Hey, but at least most of it's ad-free.
That is true.
That's the key thing. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up about streaming?
I don't think so.
How many movies do you watch on streaming? Do you go back and watch movies you love? Or do you just go to your DVD collection still?
DVD collection. I actually have any of the movies I'd care to frequent, and then, I mean, sometimes it's easier just to download them, but for the most part, I have everything on my my hard drive, and then I watch TV shows.
There you go. I do know, and for me, it's more about like when I'm in the mood to do it. Recently, Hulu added a couple of movies. I'm like, ooh, I haven't seen that in a while. I'd like to watch that at some point. Of course, by the time I get ready to watch it, it goes in. It's either gone or it goes into their expired pile. Like, this expires Monday. If you don't watch this now, you can't watch it. But I just noticed that they added The Jackal from 1997, Bruce Willis, Richard Gere. Love that movie, even though it's twisted as all hell. It's the second movie I saw Jack Black in, because the first one was Enemy of the State. And obviously the 2010 A-Team movie is kind of self-explanatory for people who know that. Dude, Where's My Car? Shrek 1 and 2. Mighty Ducks.
But yeah, there's a ton of stuff on there anyway.
Yeah, there's so much stuff. Ooh, paycheck. Sorry, folks. I'm just kind of scrolling through my Hulu movies at this point. I don't watch a lot of them, but every now and then it hits me to watch a lot of documentaries. And I watched the one on framing John DeLorean, so the guy that made the DeLorean. That was interesting, but that was a screwed up story. That dude, oh my God, so screwed up. They have the Batman and Bill documentary on here, which at some point we will do for the pull bag. Maybe. I don't know. I think I only watched like the first few minutes of that at the time. But yeah, I mean, they have Back in Time, the Back to the Future documentary. I remember when that was a Kickstarter. Anyway.
Yep.
So as I said a second ago, for the audience, what streaming services do you prefer? Do you have a multitude of them? Do you only have one? Are you cord cutters? Or are you cord people that also have streaming services? Let us know in the comments on the website. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that other good stuff. Coming up next, since this is episode 19, and episode 20 is going to be our next podcast approach, which we have to figure out which guest we're getting for that. So next time around, we're going to have a new podcast approach. The last one you would have heard is Lady Rec in episode 15. And after that, we're going to talk about the goodness of pizza and how that ties into advertising, audio, and visual. Because, yeah, there was a conversation about a year ago on Facebook that I have screen caps of that needs to be discussed. We're even going to have a little bit of a skit up all about it. So, join us next time here inside Studio 2009. Where can the people find you online, sir?
On the Twitters at SCP21.
I am at TFG and Mike on Twitter. You can also follow at Geekcast Radio. On Twitter, it's at ITS Studio 2009, all one word. Check us out on Facebook, as well as always, going to the website, www.geekcastradio.com. And next time, it's a podcast approach, as I said. For now, I am TFG and Mike with
Steve Megatron.
the studio soon.